I'm going to show you the only trading indicator that you'll ever need to be profitable in the stock market. That indicator is called the stochastic, or you'll often hear me say the trend. And that is this red line, well, red and yellow line, that runs up and goes sideways for a very, very, very long time. Now, it could also go up and down and up and down. And that's also going to tell you, hey, maybe I need to exit this thing, or I need to take profits, or depends on the situation. But this is an example of Costco. And I love this example because it shows how powerful trend is. Trend can go for a very long time. And while the trend kind of wavers, you don't need to exit. I'll also tell you a story about a friend that I have that only uses trend, doesn't use candles in any sense. So look at Costco here. This area between the two red horizontal lines is called the sweet spot. Why is it called that? It's the area that you have the highest probability to make money. And that's what this is all about. This is not about guessing of where things are going to go and hoping that you're going to make money. This is taking a lot of chances and giving yourself the highest probability to make money on those chances. Are you going to lose? Absolutely. But you have to know how to let your winners run. And that's what I'm going to show you right here. So with Costco, before we get to Costco specifically, my rule is let your red and yellow line be in that sweet spot area, so above this 32% line, for 3 days. Why 3 days? Because what you can have is this right over here. See how this is just kind of wiggling and crossing over, and this right here was actually a great example. The red line dipped down, didn't even go below yellow, and rebounded right back up. That is called a reversal. You do not want to get caught in a reversal. So what this could theoretically do, run up here and just kind of dip back down. The red line could dip back down. You don't want to do something like that. If you have 3 days above that 32% line in that sweet spot, you're pretty confidently going to stay above that, and you're going to go for the run that we see here with Costco. So coming back here, and this is from 2021, these are very rare that you get these really, really long 9-month runs in this market anymore. In the past, it was super, you saw it all the time. Now, not so much. So that's why I'm going back to 2021. So now you're looking for those 3 days in the sweet spot. Now, where can we find that? So 3 days in the sweet spot, and we look right here. There's an ad candle, and I'll do a separate video on when exactly you should buy into a trade. So we're going to move here and find that candle, April 5th, 2021. So we've been in the sweet spot. So that price is going to be 359.15. 359.15. So write that down. Now the question becomes, okay, now we're in a very intense trade. This is going to get scary. What do we do? How do we know when to exit? The price, I mean, if you come over here to your April 5th number, you kind of the next day kind of fell down in price a little bit. Did we exit? Did we panic? Well, no. That's the great thing about paying attention to the trend. As long as we're in the sweet spot, and this red line is on top of yellow, which it is very confidently above yellow. You love to see this big separation between the red and the yellow lines. You're good. And then when the red line moves over 80%, a lot of people say, okay, I'm out of the sweet spot. Now I'm going to start losing money. Well, no. The great thing is about that 80% number, it almost tells you when to sell now. Once your red line gets over, now you're good. Now you just coast. Now you just continue to go sideways like this. And what happens when the stochastic or the trend continues to go sideways? What happens? Well, look what the stock price does. It just keeps going higher and higher and higher and higher. Are there blips along the way like right here? Yes, but that's something very important that I want to point out right now. Your trend did not drop below 80%. It didn't drop below 80% until over here in January of 2022. That is a very long time. That is about 8 to 9 months that you were in this trade. So when you get this dip down here, what do? Well, really, you don't do anything. As long as this is continuing to go sideways, don't worry. The red line dropping below the yellow only matters for exiting a trade in the sweet spot. When you're overbought, you just let it do its thing. It's going to wiggle back and forth. It's going to. That's just how it is. If it's wiggling back and forth in here, you're exiting your trade. If it's wiggling back and forth up here, don't worry about it. It needs to go somewhere. And you can see here, even when this thing dips down like this, what does it do? It got down to about 83% and it came right back up. So in this, you didn't have to worry about exiting. And that's the beauty of long-term trading. That's why I have been such a successful long-term trading. I have learned, I'm going to say this a couple more times, the trend is your friend. The trend is your friend. If you trust the trend, you will do very well in this game. If you do not trust the trend and you worry about only the price action, you're not going to do well. That's just how it's going to work. So the great thing about this one, buy, and you kind of set it and forget it. And you go and it just goes sideways, 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 sideways. And over here in January, you start to get the stock price pulling back a little bit. And now I'm saying, okay, I'm getting a little apprehensive up here. What am I going to do? I'm just going to look for an exit point. I'm going to look for an exit point, and that exit point was probably somewhere right in here when you start getting these big gap down days. So it's about 506, we'll call it 506. So you came over here and you bought a position at about $359.15, and you were in this thing for 9 months and you exited at 506. And that is the beauty of the long-term stochastic, of the daily stochastic, of any stochastic, the trend. As long as you trust the trend, you are going to do very well. Now, people are saying, okay, well, volume is also an important thing in that. Absolutely, volume is an important thing. This is the same time frame, but this is just going to the daily stochastic. And look at this. The volume was kind of, when we added on our April 5th number, where was that? April 5th right here, our volume was not the greatest, but it was pretty good. Because I look back at this and say, okay, where is the average volume line? The average volume line did spike up here, but why did it spike up? Because earnings were back here on March 4th. So you did have this big influx of volume for about 3 weeks. And then when you got back to normal volume, and when I say normal volume, let's just draw a line here. Let's ignore the average line. Actually, it's gonna come back to the average line, as you can see how I just went right on top of it. But once you got rid of this spike that kind of carried this up here, you're back to average. So I looked at this and said, all right, April 5th, we had pretty normal volume, nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. It gave me confidence to know that I've returned to normal average volume. Now, you don't really have to look at volume again. You really don't. All you have to do is look at your long-term trend. But you notice here, when you got these big runs, you got an increase in volume. And a big increase in volume here. Increases in volume when you had this dip over here in January, a big increase in selling volume. So there's other little indicators that you can use to take advantage of and give yourself an edge. But the big thing is the trend. You want to focus on it. This goes for every single chart that you use, but really the long-term one where you can catch these month-long runs and make a lot of money. So if you want more tips and tricks like this, join my Patreon. It's only $25 a month right now. There's only 100 spots available. You get full access to me and other traders in the Patreon chat, plus my private live streams weekly. Go watch this next video on how to become a profitable trader in 6 months, and I'll see you on the next one.